My team, kinda power. I love the power. I love the power.
Hi and welcome to the Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast. This is a weekly podcast dedicated to all things Port Adelaide Football Club. I am your host for this evening, Macca 19, and with me is regular co-host Fishing Rico 4. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good, Macca. What about you?
Very good, very good. And
you sound happy.
I'm very happy this evening. We'll talk about that in a little moment. And we've got our regular guest, DonDraper. How are you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, good.
Thanks for having me.
No worries, not at all.
Welcome aboard.
We might as well get straight into it and talk about the big news of this afternoon, which is Jared Polec has finally been traded to the Port Adelaide Football Club. What do we think about that?
Excellent.
Fantastic news. So excited.
Excited. I'm really excited to see what he's going to get. I guess the first key is going to be how he goes this pre-season. I reckon if he has a full pre-season, I think look out.
Well, it looks like Brodie Smith has been keeping him in shape, so that's a good thing.
And Lewis Johnson.
Yeah, him too.
He's been taking fashion tips from Lewis Johnston, so that's always good.
Absolutely.
I mean, is he as hard to gauge as what the pundits are thinking, though? Like, the pick five, but hasn't shown anything, or has he actually shown something in the games that he has played, and it's just been injuries that has sort of kept him out?
No, it's definitely injuries and form as well. He's definitely got some things to work on, particularly, I think, positioning, especially at stoppages, learning where to run to receive the ball a bit better. I think he needs to work on that. But look, if he can do that, if he's fit, I think he's definitely in the first 22 come round one. And look, this is a great trade for the Port Adelaide Football Club, I think.
You talk about positioning at stoppages there. Well, Walsh coming on board is going to fix that right up, surely. And in injuries too, hopefully Burgess can get the best out of him. There's no doubting Polec's talent. He's obviously can play quite a bit. And Brisbane just seems to be such a toxic environment. You look at Yeo, Doherty, Karnisis, Longer, and him. They're all going. In the next. Well, two have gone. I think the other three will go tomorrow. I don't think you can really read too much into it. I mean, he might need a bit of an attitude change, but we'll get that out of him. It's a big, big win for us.
Yeah, look, I don't think he really has a attitude problem. From what I've heard from a couple of Brisbane mates is that, especially on the track, there's been a lot of talk that he's a bit of a slack trainer and all this sort of stuff, and they've said that that's just a load of rubbish. That he does train really hard, he listens to the coaches. I guess, the attitude might come from, was he homesick? Was he missing his twin brother? All that sort of stuff. But then you look at all these other Brisbane players that are leaving at the same time. Is it just Brisbane that's the problem and not these sort of individual players that are the issue?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's interesting too how we got canned 2 years ago for our culture and everyone's going to leave and no one left and now to stack us up against Brisbane where everyone wants to jump off a sinking ship. We did actually quite well through the bad times and we're slowly starting to come out and see the good times. And I think Jared wanting to come with us is a fantastic coup, and irrespective of of our crosstown neighbours, that's got nothing to do with it. The fact that a young player who showing some potential wants to come to us, I think it's a big win for the club.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at us, as you said, 2 years ago and there was talk, Butcher leaving, Trengove leaving, Moore, all these young guys. This is actually happening to Brisbane. And this is the situation that we could very easily have been in. But, good on the players for sticking by the club, and, I think they got the rewards this year and can see a bright future at Port Adelaide.
Absolutely. It's very exciting.
Now, I just want to talk about the trade itself quickly. Obviously, we're receiving Jared Polec, pick 21 and pick 45 in exchange for our first round pick, which is number 14, and our second round pick, which is pick 34. Do you think that's a pretty fair trade?
It is. I wish we could have kept our first round pick. I know that was a long shot. I mean, wasn't there a rumour we were going to do a three-way with St Kilda and get their pick 18? And I was much more on board with that. But, I mean, pick 21, pick 18, not too much difference there, I guess. And I think it's hard with the trade period. I mean, you're going to have to give up to get good quality players in. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. GWS are laughing, though. Don't know how they've come out really well.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, GWS did well, but they had the position of power, didn't they? Because we needed them to come on board to get the deal done. And look, at the end of the day, I think because we didn't really want to offer any of our players up, and understandably so, why would we? It was always going to be that situation that our pick was going to have to be compromised. And I guess this is probably the right draft for the pick to be compromised. And Macca, you probably know best out of this anyway, but we're not really sacrificing too much and picking up a real talent along the way. So it doesn't bother me at all. And 34 to 45, I mean, if it's a shallow draft like all the experts are saying, we've probably got just as much equal chance of picking something up there anyway.
Yeah, look, I think there's been a lot of talk lately about, having to win trades and all this stuff, and you don't have to win a trade by absolutely raping the opposition in a trade. I think this is very much a winning trade for Port Adelaide. And there was a very smart post by Fort Support a little bit earlier on, a couple of hours ago, which said that if we had just traded pick 34 for Polec, obviously we'd get to keep pick 14. But our second pick would have been pick 52, and our third pick would have been pick 70. With this, we get Polec. We've taken a little bit of a hit with our first pick. Now it's 21, but our second round pick is now 45, and our third pick is now 52. So I think we've significantly improved our draft ranking, even though we've taken a slight hit with our first pick in this one.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I think I'm hoping that it's a bit like how West Coast traded their pick 6 for pick 11 and something else to get or to supposedly get Yuyo from Brisbane, but they're after Dom Sheed, is it, in the draft, and they're pretty sure he's still going to be there at 11. Sorry, so I'm hoping that the player that we're targeting at 14 might still stick around till 21 if it's going to be that even draft. You never really know.
It is quite possible.
They might have a player in mind like that they've picked out to get that might slide. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at previous pick 14s and pick 21s, I mean, there is a slight increase in quality with pick 14. You look at the best 4 players over the last sort of 10 to 12 years that have been picked with number 14, and you're looking at Grant Birchall, Angus Monfries, Jack Grimes and Lewis Jetta. Obviously, there were some misses in there as well, looking at Ashley Watson, Jimmy Seller and Fergus Watts. And pick 21, the best players there were Matt Maguire, Ryan Bassanak and Hayden Ballantyne and Tommy Mitchell. So you can still pick, definitely still pick pretty good players with pick 21, that's for sure.
Is there anyone sorry,
that's right, you go.
Tom, but anyone excited that we might pick up at 21 boys? I'm hoping that Marsh might slide on from the reviews I read. I think that might be encouraging and fit a need.
Yeah, I am hoping that Aish will still be there at 21. I don't know about the chance of that.
No, I'm not keen on Aish.
Aaron
Fiora Mark 2, I reckon.
Oh, really? Well, I've actually read he's going to slide quite a bit, they reckon. They reckon he might even be going all the way to 6 to Collingwood, but I can't see that happening, surely.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'll slide that far.
Yeah.
Possible, I guess, but you never know.
Maybe he was tanking this year.
My draft knowledge is about top 10-ish, and then it drifts off a bit. So,
look, I think with pick 21, there's a core group of South Australian players that I think we'll probably look at, and you're talking about sort of Luke Dunstan, you're looking at James Battersby and Trent Dumont. They're probably the 3 that'll, might still be there. You would think at least one will be there. Maybe Luke Dunstan might slide that little bit extra and go to pick 21. I don't know. I guess do you go small or do you go tall? Do you pick the best available tall with that pick?
I think we have to. I think we're taking in White, Polec, with the backup mids we've got. I think we really need to bring in another tall, and I think I'd roll the dice with another tall. We have to, and I think as we spoke about a couple of weeks ago when someone pulled it up on the board as well. I think we're going to have to really look at maybe playing Cleary as a swing man and up forward also.
Yep, could happen.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, there might be some interesting tolls around. Jonathan Marsh, he's probably one that'll still be there. Cameron McCarthy might slide, maybe.
If McCarthy slides, that would be fantastic. I was keen to take him with our pick 14. If he's still there at 21, I don't think he will be though.
I haven't read much about McCarthy. There seems to be a lot of mixed reports from the supporters on our board about wanting him and not wanting him. What's the why is there such a inconsistent approach to that guy?
The negativity. You go, Don. You go.
No, I think he got injured pretty badly, didn't he, at the start of the year?
Yeah, he hasn't played a lot of footy. That's probably the main negative about Cameron McCarthy is that I think he comes from a basketball background. He didn't play a lot of footy last year. He sort of stormed into sort of the state under-18 squad and had a pretty big championships until he broke his leg. So he's still kind of a bit of an unknown in that he hasn't played a lot of football. But obviously the raw talent's there, the raw sort of physical potential is there. So I guess that's where the negative sort of connotations with picking McCarthy would come from, I guess.
So he might be a potential late bloomer then, take a few more years to develop.
Well, it's still a risk. It's a risky pick to pick McCarthy, I think. Just because, he doesn't have that big sort of 3, 4, 5 year, junior background of big performances in football, I think.
Yep.
I could be completely mistaken. I could be completely mistaken, and he could have this big bloody history with football. But I'm pretty sure he's not from football and has a basketball background.
You say it's a risky pick, but he won't be there at 21, surely. So someone's going to take a risk on him.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah. It would be pants down lap around the table time if he falls to 21, I think.
Yeah.
And so
the one I'm really keen on is Darcy Hourigan. That's the one that I'm pretty keen on, and whether that's too big a reach picking him at 21, or whether he'll still be there with our pick in the 40s, I'm not too sure.
Is he an SA boy?
Yep.
Okay.
Plays for South Adelaide.
And you're confident that you reckon Polec will slot into our round 1 team?
I would think so. I don't see why he wouldn't.
I don't see why he wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think he'll start straight in the midfield, or do you think he'll be a flanker to start with?
I would hope he would start round 1 on the wing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So pure winger?
Oh, look, I think he's played, looking at his history at Brisbane, I think he's played a lot of good football in the State League as a back flanker, sort of in a Pittard type role. So I think he can possibly play that sort of role as well.
Okay.
But, I mean, we've got him for a midfielder. You'd want him to play as a midfielder, I would think.
Is it just me, or is the idea of Hartlett on one wing and Polec on the other wing, if he plays to his potential, very exciting?
Very, very exciting, Rick.
I'm quite excited about having White on the other wing, I think.
Yeah, I don't know enough. I haven't seen enough of the Richmond games to see the upside in White. I'm backing in everyone else's opinion on that one, but I guess it's just we've spoken like you said earlier. We've spoken about it before, but will he get enough ball on the wing? But at least we've got those players now with X factor. You've even got Pittard that could go onto the wing as well.
Exactly. I think, main issue this year was definitely lack of pace, and with White and Polec coming in, we've definitely fixed that. We've improved our depth in terms of midfielders as well, and you'd think guys like Ben Newton and Brendan Archie will also push for selection, you would hope, next year as well.
Absolutely,
yeah.
So we've got a lot of options to go through there, which is good.
And even Aaron Young, I think, will step it up again next year as well. So we should be starting to develop that real pressure for spots in the team, which is ultimately what you need to create a good team, isn't it?
Yeah. I think considering we have picked 2 midfielders, and also we can't forget about Flynn as well, I definitely would be looking at going Toll with our first pick. Unless there's a big slider, I would definitely want to be going Toll, I think. Unless someone like Sheed or, I don't know, maybe Salem or someone like that drops down, or Freeman, which I can't see happening. But if that happens, I would pick them. But otherwise, yeah, I think we should definitely go top.
I agree with you completely.
I think our recruiting in the last few years has just been so spot on that I will back our guys in to get the job done again, and we'll get an amazing pickup. I'm sure, just like Wines and Wingard in previous years.
So that's a good point you make about the recruiting. 3 years ago we were all maybe questioning our recruiting, and now we're all very happy with the recruiting. What's changed in that 3-year period? I can't think of anything overly structural that's really changed.
Look, I'm not a big fan of Jeff Parker. I've made that known on the boards. I'm still pretty critical of the players that we've picked over the last few years. I guess Wines fell in our lap and Wingard fell in our lap, but you look at, we picked Ben Jacobs when we probably shouldn't. Young hasn't done much. Newton hasn't played a game. O'Shea's been a good pick. Archie hasn't done much. Blee's delisted. So look, yeah, I mean, I still think we've got a lot of work to do in terms of getting our late picks right, and that's where I think that's where recruiters should be. That's where their reputation is made, with getting those late picks right. And I think for the last, certainly under Parker, and certainly a bit before that, I don't think we've done that at all well over the last sort of 7 or 8 years.
With that, though, is it the recruiters or is it the clubs that the higher draft picks are coming to, that they're already set up in such a way that they give these players confidence to go on and become better players, I
don't know. I think any man and his dog would have been able to tell anybody that Matthew Westhoff with a second-round pick was going to be a big mistake. And situations like that just should not occur at all.
We're sort of falling back to the Choco era of the let's pick the injury-prone or development-type player that will turn into a great player sort of thing. I think you're being a bit of a killjoy for me there, Macca.
Sorry.
I think we're just trying to keep it in the family a bit with Matthew Westhoff and Marlon Motlop. We're just trying to create some big, happy family atmosphere down at
That's Choco all over, if you ask me.
Oh, look, I think we've definitely got a lot of picks right and probably a lot of picks wrong. That's sitting on the fence there. Obviously, winning games helps. The fact that we made the finals and reached the semi-finals this year, it makes certain sort of areas of the club look better. And look, I do think we've got a pretty good future on our hands, and I do think we've got premiership potential with our squad set up at the moment. Obviously, there's a few more sort of keys that we need to get. We need to get another forward. We definitely need to get someone like Polec to really come on and reach his potential, and our first round pick this year. And, if guys like Wingard and Wines can continue to improve, we need another key defender, like a tall key defender, and probably another good shutdown defender. Then I think we're in real premiership potential land.
You're not calling our window open, though?
Oh, no. I think
not like our crosstown neighbours.
No, I think we're still, definitely a couple of years away from that, I would think.
There was also Peter Rode was on that radio station that we don't like to mention, and he was saying that they've just inked a deal with a new development coach, which was a ruckman, and it just is put on the board that he reckons Brad Ottens might be the man. I reckon that would be a pretty good signing.
That'd be a great pickup.
That would be an excellent signing, I would think.
Well, he is an Adelaide man, so maybe he does want to come home. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the thread at the moment, and all I'm looking at Easy Cross posting that picture of Darren Jarman in the showdown. it's just cracking me. The pies. Stay away from the pies.
Ottens would be a massive get. That would be a massive get.
Well, we were talking.
Would he be as a ruck coach plus development coach, or just a development coach?
No, I think that's what. Well, I know I overheard Rode say ruck coach, but then I had to close it. But you'd imagine it'd probably be a bit of both, surely.
You would think so. Yeah.
That would be massive. Obviously, he would have a connection with Hinkley, would he not?
He would.
Definitely. Yep.
Yes, of course. So I was just making sure I was right there.
No, that's a good point, because since Hinkley's been on board, I've been waiting for a former Geelong player to sort of join our coaching panel, and I thought we would have poached someone eventually, and maybe that's the one.
Yeah.
Well, South Australia is turning into Geelong with Sanderson, Milburn, Hinkley,
Hocking.
and now Ottens and Hocking. Crazy.
Well, the cities are probably about the same size and scale. Bit of relativity there.
If only we could get
That's a
their
bit harsh
stadium,
on Adelaide, I think.
I don't know. I went to Brisbane on the weekend, and I got to say, we're falling behind, man.
Yeah. Well, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, it's nice. But I mean, the other player was we spoke about was Lade, and I thought maybe his role at Richmond was probably a little bit more sophisticated with Richmond than maybe a ruck development coach at Port. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard about it, you mentioned the ruckman coming over. I was hoping it would be Lade, to be honest. But I can't see him leaving Richmond. Like, I just think that he's. I think he'll be there for the long haul with them. Like, I think he's pretty set there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that post about Ottens, I reckon that might be on the money. It'll be an interesting announcement when it comes out.
So, did Rhodes say that today?
Yes, he
Yeah.
said that to. I won't say his name. You guys can say it.
I'm not saying his name either.
So, have you guys posted in the thread about your starting 22 for next year yet?
I don't think I have. No.
Rick?
No, I haven't. I've been waiting for the dust to settle, and it's settling quite well. But I think I'll wait for our. I think I'll wait. I think I'll wait for our draft pick to come in first. But I think with the two new signings, they'll probably slot in. I don't think any of our draft picks, I reckon, will slot straight into the team. Especially if we pick a tall with our first round pick, it would have to be something extraordinary, I reckon.
I was going to ask you guys who Polec comes in for your round one side next year. You just ruined that. I reckon.
I can still give an opinion on that.
Yeah.
For my team, I think it would probably be. I'm just trying to think what I will put down. It'd probably be an Aaron Young type, I guess. And they said maybe. I think I did have Youngie in there, so Youngie probably goes out. So Polec.
Yeah, look, I think if I'm going to use the semi-final team as a template, I would say Young out, Polec in, and probably Kasisi out, White in. That would be my two changes.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think Kasisi might make way, and I'm sure the type of player and person he is, he'd probably be happy to start off in the background and work his way into form. And can I pick on the whipping boy and say maybe Tom Logan might fall out? He had one great final.
That's pretty fair. Yep.
Yep.
One great final and one not so great final, but he back-ended the season pretty well too. So, I mean, it is a hard call, but ultimately I think going forward, it's, Aaron Young needs to step up, and I'd really love to see him stamp his authority in the pre-season and in the training as well, and cement a spot in the side, because that's where the future of our team is, isn't it?
Yep. So I guess the only other thing to say about trade week so far is, do we see any other trades being made tomorrow, like a sneaky trade?
I can't see us doing anything, no.
From us or anybody? Because if it's from us, I don't think we'll be doing anything.
I meant particularly from us, yeah.
Well,
I think we'll try and get maybe Jared Polec and pick 21, so pick one, maybe.
Oh, it might work.
Yeah, maybe, potentially.
No,
I
can't.
Gumbleton's still out there. He's he's still out there. He might have committed to going to Freo, or he might stay at Essendon, but he's still maybe a very, very small chance. But
I'd love Gumbleton, but I don't know what we could possibly offer to get him.
Well, better than 58, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Freo are offering pick 58, so we got pick 52, so that might. Yeah.
We should try and throw pick 52 at Scott Gumbleton then.
But I think
surely pick 58. Surely someone's taking a punt on him before then.
But maybe he's come out and said, I really just want to go back home. So
yeah, it's possible. I think he specifically said Freo or nothing, but yeah, I would think Freo's definitely in the box seat to do something there.
Well,
I mean, otherwise,
surely.
it'd be worth rolling the dice, wouldn't it? giving it a go. I mean, because we need that key forward. I would have rolled the dice on it. So I can't see why we wouldn't have, unless he said, look, I really just want to go home, and the club's gone, yeah, fair enough.
In terms of key forwards, I'd probably be looking at picking up Aaron Cornelius as a delisted free agent, because I think now that Jackson Payne has gone to Brisbane, I would think Aaron Cornelius is in quite a bit of trouble on that list. And I think he's got a fair amount of talent. I think he's got the capability to be a 30-plus goal forward, and I think we could get him pretty cheap.
Well, what's been the problem with him? Sorry, Don.
Okay. Are you annoyed we didn't go after Jackson Payne, Macca?
Yeah, I don't think we ever would have, but yeah, he's someone that I earmarked sort of later on in the year, and he kicks a lot of goals in the state leagues and probably just needs a chance to step up, which probably wasn't going to happen behind Cloak and Reed at Collingwood. Yeah. So yeah, I would have definitely liked him, but these things happen.
It was a good pickup by. It was a good trade by Collingwood, actually. They've done really well, and now I guess he'd be behind Jesse White there as well. So.
Yep.
I'm actually a bit dirty on how well Collingwood's done this trade period. It shouldn't be that easy.
They've done excellently well. To end up with two top 10 picks. Fantastic effort. Plus getting Adams.
And
a
Jesse
fantastic
White.
Young midfielder. Jesse White, I still don't see it with Jesse White. I still think he's probably the second worst key forward in the league, to be honest.
I think the big win for Collingwood, they also managed to get rid of Heath Shaw. So.
Well, that's it. Yep.
Even if they have to pay some of his wage next year.
Look, they've lost Shaw and Thomas, and they're going to get some short-term pain, but obviously long-term, I think that's some pretty smart trading for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we don't want to talk about Collingwood too much. I know, Don, you wanted to talk about the first showdown, though, didn't you?
I absolutely did. More so just the fixture that's come out. So we've got round one, we're away at Carlton, and that's in the first week of round one. And then we have a week off, and I think, and then the week after that we have the showdown. Now, in that second week, I believe the Crows are playing Geelong away. So we'll have a week off before the showdown, and the Crows will play Geelong before they get a crack at us. So I think that's fantastic. That's brilliant for us, That Carlton game will be tough, though. There's a lot of confidence on our board that we're just going to smash them, which is great to read. But that'll be a tough game, I think if we win that, it'll be brilliant.
Well, they beat us twice this year, so it's definitely not going to be a walkover. No,
and I think Malthouse will have them going. This year didn't work out quite as well as they had planned, and they still believe that they're a bit of a chance. I think Carlton, I don't quite know where that's coming from, but they'll be really hard. They'll be really hard to beat, and we don't play Eddie Hadwell either. If that game was at the G, I'd be a lot more confident. I mean, I still think we can win, but I think that'd be a really big test, and I'm looking forward to it. That's the thing about when you want to be a good club, you have to play in big games and win on the road against good clubs, and that's what we're going to have to do.
Well, that's it. We know that that the fixture is going to be a bit tougher this year with the new sort of fixture rules, I guess, that the AFL have committed to. And look, if you want to play finals, then this is great. I think this is a fantastic thing because, it gives us fantastic experience in playing in big games before we reach the final. So I'm all for it. Very much looking forward to it.
And it's almost a game, even though it's only one game, but I think if we come out and we play well and we win that game and we win at Etihad and we beat Carlton, I mean, it's going to give us a lot of optimism coming in for the rest of the season, I think, and it shows that the boys are really switched on from the start. And obviously, with what you're saying there with the break for us leading into the showdown, we must be the AFL's golden team in Adelaide at the moment there, Don.
Absolutely. But also don't winning early games. We thought this year it makes such a big difference to get a few early wins, just in the confidence of the whole team, because they get that belief that they can go out there and win. And I guess there isn't as much pressure on them. Like if you win your first game, it's just like, all right, we've done that. Now let's keep that feeling going and move on. It's just great. I mean, we won our first 5 this year, had such a great year. I know the draw was a bit kinder to us than it's going to be next year, but still.
Should be exciting. of the first showdown at Adelaide Oval. You guys obviously will be going there and all excited and looking forward to it.
I'll definitely
Absolutely.
be there. Yep. I probably still would have wished that it was a Crows home game, to be honest, just so we could beat them at that first showdown at Adelaide Oval in front of their home crowd. I would have loved it.
No, it's good that we're hosting it. I actually had the fright of my life when my brother's getting married the week before, but when I looked at the fixtures and it was round 1, round 2, and it was March 22nd, I was like, oh my God, like he's getting married the day of the showdown. I'm not going to be able to go to the wedding. Clearly I'm going to go to the footy. But I was, oh my God, this is the worst. And then I realised that because it's at the AFL and they have some stupid agreement with the cricket grounds, that round 1 split over 2 weeks, so the showdown's the week after, so I can go to both.
That's it.
And what about Alice? Do you think playing Melbourne and Alice will be a bit more of an advantage to us than playing it in Darwin?
I don't know. What's the major differences? Like, it's still really, really hot, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's any difference. I think the only difference is that we seem to have some bad karma at the Darwin Oval. So hopefully we get some good karma in Alice.
Yeah, but you guys happy that we're still playing that Northern Territory game?
No, I'd rather be done with it. I'd rather just play in Melbourne, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit it sort of agitates me. Really?
Neither here nor there, really. I think we missed probably a bit of an opportunity. I know we've got a few Northern Territory supporters on the boards, and speaking to one of the old moderators, Dream Killers, and they said that the club really missed an opportunity to really cement itself in Darwin to begin with, going back sort of 10 years ago. But now, I mean, what do we actually get out of it? I don't think we get anything out of it financially or anything really. So I'm really neither here nor there. I think it's nice, but if they did away with it, then it's not the end of the world, to be honest.
Well, that's why I'm not a big fan.
It's horrible as well, isn't it? Playing the week after, coming back.
Yeah, we have bad stats.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, if it rotated and we had the home game there every second year or something, well, fair enough. But I feel like we're just the poor cousin going up there every year as the visiting team, and I don't know. I don't see it really as a successful branding exercise for us. Anyway, it just seems to be the Melbourne club seems to get all the branding when it's played up there. So, yeah, I know it's probably off-putting for the Northern Territory supporters that like it, but I just I can't see. I'm with you, Don. I'd rather play Melbourne and Melbourne if that's the case.
Especially if you get to play Melbourne at the MCG.
Absolutely. Yep. Probably be our one and only game.
Yeah.
We got the power to win, power to roll. Come on, Port Adelaide aggression. We are the power from Port.
Now, as we've done for the last 3 weeks, we'll continue on with our player reviews for 2013. The first player this evening is Darren Pfeiffer. Last year he played 16 games. He was kept on the rookie list for a second season this year. Didn't get a look in at all. His form at SANFL level was steady without being all that fantastic. He had a big finish to the season. Had a good final series, but he only averaged 16 touches a game, and there was lots of talk that he came back to pre-season overweight, and maybe his cards were marked then. Don, how did you see him potentially fitting in this year?
Yeah, I think it was always going to be tough for Darren. I think that he's one of those players where he's a very good SANFL player, but he's just not quite good enough for AFL. He just probably lacks a bit of polish to really make it. I mean, he seems like a really nice guy and everything, and it's sad to hear that he came back a bit overweight, if that's true, because it seems like if he's not a hard worker, then he really is going to struggle, and obviously he didn't look after himself over pre-season. Yeah, I mean, I think that our midfield was really good this year. We had a lot of depth, and he was just at the back of the pecking order, though, unfortunately for Darren.
It's not hard to not disagree with you there. Double negative, Don. It was, I don't know. There was not much hope for Darren, I guess, wasn't it? But I mean, he was on 3 AFL lists, so he obviously showed something along the way, but obviously he just couldn't put it together, and he's just fallen behind the pack. And I guess that happens, and he'll probably just be a good player for Norwood, and he still grounded out a bit of an AFL opportunity, so he's done better than most people.
He was quite a determined player. Like, I think, I mean, he's obviously played at 3 clubs, so he's gotten cut, and not given up, which is great to see. It obviously says a lot about his character. I remember during that game we beat North last year, where we came from nowhere in the last quarter. He had a great game. He won some really big one-on-ones that really helped us there. I think we won 3 in a row, beat Gold Coast and Carlton the week after us, and he was great. So I remember thinking maybe he was going to be a bit of a player for us, but maybe that was just around his level, where our side was then.
Yeah, he turned into a little bit of a cult hero last year. He had a really good period of about 5 or 6 weeks where he was, in the best players and played some really good footy. And then he got inexplicably dropped. And it seemed to just absolutely tear his confidence apart. And he was never the same after that, and he wasn't the same this year. Look, good on him for grinding out a bit of a mini career. Obviously, he was a first-round pick for the Crows way back when. He got delisted after 2 years without playing a game. Then he went to Carlton, played a little bit there. I think he probably wasted his opportunity a little bit there. Then he tried to get on Gold Coast lists, and then he came to us. So he's been around the bush a little bit. He's got an SANFL premiership now and played some pretty decent AFL football when he's had the chance. But I think he was always up against it a little bit this year, and it's no real surprise that he got delisted at the end of the season. Next player on the list is Jasper Pittard, one that the hyphen, one that we've spoken about a bit in length on this podcast in previous weeks. How did we see his year?
I loved his year. I'm a massive fan of Jasper. I know he's got his critics on the board. As you can tell, I've jumped in first before anyone could say anything. I'm going to get on the front foot and defend him straight away. I love his run. I love what he can provide us from defence. I think he's got great flair. His kicking is nowhere near as bad as what people make it out to be, and I understand that he might miss a few defensive contests every now and again, but I mean, he's only 21. And he's just started to grow into his body. And I think next year he's going to be a fantastic player for us. And I don't think hardly anyone's going to bag him next year. I've got a lot of faith in Jasper.
He's actually 22 and a half. So he's getting on a bit, I think.
That's why next year should be his year, shouldn't
it? It has to be, I think. Yep.
I have a pretty controversial view, like Rick. I actually really like Jasper Pittard. We seem to be the only ones, mate. I don't think he can, as you mentioned him defending, he's terrible in a one-on-one contest defensively, and he just seems to have no awareness in that regard. But his run is fantastic, and his finals were good too. His last quarter against Collingwood was great, and I think that's going to hold him in good stead. He still needs a bit of composure, but that'll come, with playing. As I say, obviously a lot of run and dash. Where they play him next year, I'd like to see him push up the ground a bit more to a wing. But he's locked into our 22 in round 1, if you ask me.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's locked in. I think he's definitely part of our best 22. I'm critical of him because he's a first round pick and he just needs to be doing a bit more.
Fair enough.
And just needs to find a bit of extra composure. I mean, that's my real sort of negative about Pittard, is just that he seems to fret every time he gets the ball, and more often than not probably makes some silly decisions. And defensively, at times he can be completely non-existent defensively. So, look, I think the 2 games he played further up the field against St Kilda and Geelong, I thought he was, close to our best player in both of those games. So I think he's got a real future pushing further up the field. I'm just not sure he's ever going to be that, that decent defender that they're probably trying to turn him into.
Yeah. I think there's one player that's coming up in our discussion that's worse defensively one-on-one than Jasper Pittard. So I'll leave that. I'll point it out when we get to him.
Well, I'm sorry, Rick, but Adam Kingsley is no longer on the Port Adelaide list.
Oh, damn it. Don't disappoint me, Macca.
Sorry, bomb scare. But...
I liked Adam Kingsley as well.
Kinga was a good player. He just he went from being a very good midfielder to an absolutely terrible back flanker for a couple of years. But
if Jasper Pittard could kick a goal late in a last quarter for a winning grand final, I'll be pretty happy, mate. So
I will be absolutely stoked. No doubt about that. Third player that we're going to talk about is Jared Redden. Someone that he started the year in the side. He busted his shoulder really bad against the Bulldogs in Darwin, and he wasn't seen for the rest of the year after that.
I think all talks that we're going to try and groom Redden to be a key forward next year. Is that correct? It seems to be the talk of off the big footy board anyway. I'd be for that. He looks all right when he goes forward. And I think Lobie's year in the ruck means that he'll probably be a number one next year. So Redden's going to play. So I think he'll be that third tall, I guess. He's a monster though when he rucks. Like, I love him, and he just needs to get his body and fitness right. I guess, but I think if he does that, he'll give Lobie some competition for the number one spot.
Yeah, you probably heard me talking about Redden being as a forward. I guess if we're with that forward or two short, I think that's the spot, and I guess he's going to be we might be lacking a little bit of defensive pressure with Reddo up there, but I think it's a good mix if we can get him to fit in the forward line as well, because that allows us to play that second ruck, also play him as a forward, and he's had a few of those influential games in the forward lines, which I think Macca pointed out a few weeks ago, and but I thought his season overall was showing great promise and improvement. It was just unfortunate that he picked up that shoulder injury, but hopefully he puts in a massive pre-season and he grinds it out and he gets back fitter and he can play that forward ruck role that we're looking for.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's part of our plans for being in the side, I think, on a weekly basis. He's just got to get fitter. And certainly playing as a forward, I'm not sure the club's come out and said anything official about that, but it certainly seems to be the talk on the boards that we should try and groom him to be that sort of marking tall forward who can also go into the ruck, maybe like a Brad Ottens, how he used to play at Richmond, I guess. And look, all throughout Redden's junior career and his senior career to date, in everything except for AFL level, he's been able to kick multiple goals. SANFL, SANFL reserves, and the underage teams. He's had match-winning, best-on-ground performances as a forward in each of those competitions. So I think it's just a matter of time before he can sort of, hopefully pull that out at AFL level as well. And look, I think a ruck duo of Lobie's proven that he can be a number one ruck this year. I think Redden's actual ruck work is better than Lobie's. If he can get himself fit, I think we've got an absolute ripping, ruck duo, which will be pretty hard to counteract.
Absolutely. I agree.
We're going to stay on ruckman for a little bit longer and talk about Brent Renouf, who played a few games this year. He found it a little bit tricky to get into the side. He had one ripping game against the Crows. But apart from that, he was pretty well a mainstay for Nord. Where do we see him fitting in? Do you think he was lucky to stay on the list?
Yeah.
He had to stay on the list without lack of height, but I think he was I've been very underwhelmed with him, even though he was coming to us off an injury. The one thing I thought he was coming with was with aggression and a very physical player, and I really haven't seen much of that in his play.
He's just so slow, Renouf. That's what he's just so slow, I find. I mean, we need him at the moment because he's our third ruckman, so if one of those guys goes down, I don't really like playing Westhoff in that swing role. I mean, it worked all right last year, but I think we need, like, Redden and Lobie, that they're our 1 and 2 ruckmen, I think Redden's just there just in case one of them goes down, really.
I think 10 years ago, Renouf probably would have had a bit of a better career, just because he is a bit of a dinosaur. He is pretty slow. He can only play in the ruck. He's not a good mark. Pretty much all he can do is tap the ball, really. And 10, 20 years ago, that's okay. That's what you looked for in a ruckman. But this day and age, you want a bit of, you want the fitness, you want the pace, you want the marking ability. Dean Cox has sort of, turned every ruckman to try and become an extra midfielder. And Renouf definitely is not that.
He's a bit of a Fabian DeLuca Mark II, perhaps.
Oh, he's significant. Fabian DeLuca looked like he struggled to walk. He looked like a baby giraffe that had just popped out and couldn't stand properly. That's what DeLuca looked like. Renouf has actually played some decent AFL football and won a premiership, and he's actually a pretty decent player. And if we were to have him as the number one ruck, he would do a pretty good job. It's just the fact that if we want to play two rucks, we pretty well can't if Renouf is one of them, which is the issue, I think. But look, I think he's a good backup. Redden's been injured every single year so far, and we don't know if Lobie's going to continue to develop. So at the very least, Renouf stays as pretty decent backup, I think.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Next player on the list is Nick Salter, someone that almost a bit of a forgotten man on the power list over the last couple of years. Didn't play a game his final 2 years on the list. He turned from a pretty effective sort of third tall forward. The club, or mainly Dean Laidley, tried to turn him into a key defender, which had mixed success. Where did it go wrong for Nick?
Just on Nick Salter, I still haven't seen his amazing goal in the SANFL, Rick.
I still haven't either. No.
Haven't you? I tried to YouTube it.
I tried to find it. Yeah, I can't find it anywhere.
We might have to go to the SANFL board. I'm telling you, it was freakish. Surely one of the listeners out there can find it for us. Where's Russell Ebert Hamble? He can find anything. So we'll put the call out to him and see if he can get it done.
I love Nick. I think he is going to be the what might have been player for us. He seems to have the talent, just never really given a go, or he was injured, and things just didn't work out. I think in another life he could have been a fantastic key forward for us. And he's almost that third tall that we're looking for now.
Well, that's it. I mean, we just didn't seem to get a go at all. Even when he was kicking goals earlier this year, he was still out of the side. Even when Butcher wasn't performing, he still didn't get a look in. Even when Daniel Stewart couldn't get in, Salter just seemed to be bottom of the list. I'm not even sure why we bothered to keep him this year, to be honest.
I think people were saying
in hindsight, it was just a strange decision. But
he's another Adam Thompson. He's another Mitch Banner, but honestly, I think the coaches really stuffed this one up. As far as I'm concerned, he looked good as a forward, and I don't know. Sometimes the coaches seem too busy to teach players a lesson and re-educate them or whatever, and sometimes you got to let him play. And I mean, I don't know Nick personally, but maybe he's just one of those guys that you just got to get around him and back him in and give him an opportunity, and he just never got that and never developed. But he was a bit of a colt on the board. Everyone wanted to defend him and see what he could do, because he did show a forward presence in the SANFL level, and we just never gave him an opportunity.
Well, yeah, he could have been. He was a big mark. He could take a contested mark. He was pretty quick. Over the first sort of 20 metres. Obviously, a massive kick. Those goals he kicked in his debut against St Kilda, both from outside 50. He kicked a goal in every game he played as a forward, and then just one pre-season, whilst we were still screaming out for key forwards, we decided to turn him into a defender. It just seemed a ludicrous decision to make, personally. But oh well, these things happen, and what could have been for Nick Salter?
Was it Salter Liam Jarrah got the leap on for that amazing mark?
I think it was, yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was probably what he's going to be remembered for. He'll still be featured on ads and everything for the next few years.
For that, and absolutely clocking Cyril Rioli in a big brawl.
Not a bad highlight reel, though.
No. Next player on the list is one of the board favourites in Jay Schultz.
Super Jay. I love him.
He's a great player.
He's fantastic. I have his number on the back of my Guernsey, and I'm so proud of it. Whenever I wear it, I imagine I'm Jay Schultz. So. He epitomises the never give up attitude that the club's got. He just gives his all, gets up, hits contest after contest after contest. He's just inspiring. I have a bit of a man crush on him. Sorry. I hope that we can eventually get the support that we need to give him in that. Speaking of the third tall, Butcher these types of players that can just act as that foil so we can keep Jay going. He's just, the greatest.
He's a fantastic player, and look, he had a bit of a poor start to the year in terms of injury. He stuffed his ankle a bit, but he was still out there every week. He didn't complain. He still hit the ground. He still hit contests super hard. And by mid-season, he started to hit form and finished with a very good year and kicked 45, 46 goals, whatever it was. And he's just such a consistent player. He's going to put in 100% effort, and some of the marks and some of the contests he hit, are just freakish.
No, it's courageous, isn't it? He's just an amazing, courageous player, and it's fearless. I mean, I couldn't really put myself in that position, and how he does it without a second thought is amazing. And really, what we picked him up for is just a bargain. I can't believe that Richmond couldn't find a spot for him in the team when he's showing what he's showing now with us. And really, we just need that other tool in the forward line just to give him that support, and he'd probably kick up to 70 goals in a season. He's a pure dominant full forward who just does all the right things, and he's got a fantastic work ethic, and he's a shining example for the younger players. And you can't buy that, can you?
Well, look, I think Schultz is someone that I look to for Polec and say there's always hope, sort of thing, because there seems to be a lot of people on our board, and especially the Crows board as well, that say, well, what's Polec done? Why should we chase after him? Paying pick 34 is still too much. Well, Jay Schultz was a first round pick, and he really struggled for form for a lot of his first 4 or 5 seasons at Richmond. He came to us, and look how he turned his career around. I mean, who really would have seen that coming? I certainly didn't, and I'm not sure many Port supporters, if they were being honest, really saw him becoming that real key, super courageous, very consistent key forward that kicks a lot of goals that he's become.
He's the toughest player in the AFL, if you ask me. I don't think anyone is. Well, I mean, there's a lot of tough players, but Jay he doesn't get the recognition for it, I think, like some of the other more high-profile names do. Annoys me a bit.
Well, that's it. I mean, everyone goes on about Jonathan Brown and some of the marks that he used to take. Well, Jay Schultz has taken some of the most ridiculously courageous marks I've ever seen, and not necessarily the ones that are the high-flying ones, but the one that always sticks in my mind was the one against Brisbane last year, in round 22, I think it was, where I think he was going against the flight of the ball, and he got absolutely hammered, but still took the mark. That would have. If I got hit like that, I would have ended up with 2 punctured lungs and probably died. And, he got up and kicked the goal, and, it's just those sort of things that he doesn't get the recognition for that he probably should, really. Yeah,
definitely. He also loves the club. Like, if you go to the club after the game, he's always there chatting with fans. He's a really nice guy. And I remember 3/4 time at the Collingwood game when he was running back to full forward, the Port fans were behind the goals, and he was clapping them and fist pumping. He just loves us, and Jay.
That's why we love him.
That's why we love him.
And we should just say thanks, Richmond.
Yeah, exactly. For Mitch Farmer.
Bargain.
I remember being pretty annoyed at that trade when it happened.
Yeah, I was as well. Yeah.
Would have Jeff Parker been involved in that, Macca?
I'm not too sure. I don't know.
Are we able to bump the thread when we got Jay on the board? Can we go back that far?
Yeah, it'll be in the archives. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'd love to read the reactions of what people were saying.
I think from memory at the time, it was sort of like, well, we've lost a fringe player for another fringe player. So we probably needed another key forward with Tredrea getting on, and I think they only played the one season together. But I mean, look, when Schultz first started in his first season, I mean, he really struggled to get a kick his first sort of 7 or 8 games with Tredrea in the side, and you look back at his time at Richmond, and he struggled also with Richardson in the side. So maybe just all along he needed to be that, the main man, the number one key forward, the main target.
Yeah.
Mm. He seems to like that role, doesn't he?
Yes, indeed. Moving on to someone that might be standing next to him next year in Mason Shaw.
I like him. I haven't seen him play, but reading his reviews and looking at the statistics, I think he came on quite well, and he moved from the reserves to the league and had an influence in the league. I don't think we could expect too much more from Shaw, from where he was drafted from, and his original size and age. So I think I'm quite optimistic if he can show that upward trajectory again this year in relation to his performance and really consolidate. Well, he'll be in our reserves side, won't he? So, but really influence, I guess, the SANFL on our reserves side. I think that's a good positive sign for us as a club.
I think I think we are really hoping he can come on next year, but he's still so young, if he doesn't play next year, then that's completely fine, really. I'd love to see him play AFL next year, though. I'd like to see him play AFL next year based on dominant SAFL form, I'd like him to come out and kick a few bags early, really play well, and actually warrant selection. Do you guys think he's a chance next year, or?
Oh, absolutely. I think he's definitely a chance. I mean, we're screaming out for another tall forward.
Exactly, yeah.
If Butcher can't, pull his finger out and get his body and his form together, then the spot is really there for Mason Shaw, because literally at the moment we don't have any other player that could possibly do that. There's obviously, we've just spoken about Redden, he might do it. We've just delisted Stewart, and we've just delisted Salter, so there's two other options that are off the list. So I think if he has a big pre-season, if he can build his body up a little bit more, kick some goals and prove he can play in the pre-season, then he's every chance to play round one.
Really?
I think so.
You reckon he might be a shot? I thought maybe mid-season.
I thought mid-season, yeah.
No, look, in theory, obviously I'm taking sort of the best possible case scenario there, but in theory it could definitely happen. And why not? Why not have that goal for him?
True, absolutely. I'm a big fan for not setting any limits, so hopefully he can come in and do that. But I guess I don't want to have that mindset of putting, and I'm sure we're only supporters, so what does he care? But of having too much pressure on him. But if we can get some AFL games out of him next year, I think he's going places.
I think the other thing to note is that I think Ken Hinckley came out and said that he's the player that he's most excited about on the list. So I think he'll be given every opportunity to perform and to improve and develop. To be a little bit of a killjoy, I think, you look at the history of the draft and you look at players, especially key forwards that are picked sort of mid to late in the draft, and it's quite barren in terms of those that do succeed and become outstanding footballers. But if he can come in and play a role and become a 25 to 30 goal a year forward in the next couple of years, that would be fantastic. And I think he's got the pace, the contested marking. Probably needs to improve his positioning a little bit. I'm all for him. I'm super excited about what he can do in the next couple of years.
You'd argue that improving his positioning and stuff like that comes from actually playing AFL footy, though. Definitely. Adjusting to the different defensive structures and everything like that. So,
and I have to say, of course, I am super happy he's not going to be at South Adelaide next year as well. Because I think that's a bit of a barren wasteland, is the old South Adelaide behind, especially considering they wouldn't play him behind Eddie, who was getting about 3 kicks a game for about 3 months there. So now that he's going to be in our system, we have complete 100% control over how he's going to develop, which can only be a good thing.
Of course.
I just bumped a Jay Schultz thread for you as well, DonDraper.
Thanks, mate.
It's not his original signing, but it was his first best game in 2010, I think.
Brilliant.
Nice one. All right, and the last player that we'll talk about this evening is Lewis Stevenson. Came to the club from West Coast. Was a mainstay in the side over the first half of the year. His form was a little bit erratic, and he got dropped, and only really played the one game in the second half of the season. Where do we really see him fitting in next year?
I think he's in that pushing for selection group, not going to play, but if he can put form together, he'll be knocking on the door. I don't think he's that bad, Stevenson. I thought his early season form was all right. He was a bit up and down. I'm going to have a guess and say this is a player that Rick thinks is the worst defender than Pittard.
You got it in one, mate.
Hey,
you got it in one.
Yes. What a win.
Yes.
He is more of a running. He's not a lockdown defender. He's more of a he's got a decent kick. He can run the spread a bit, but yeah, he's not quite there. But I don't know. He's obviously. He hardly played at West Coast from memory, right?
He only played about 10 games, and that was about 3. He played them all in the 1 year about 3 years ago. So.
Yeah, crazy.
Mm. He provides good run, and his kick's not too bad, but I just think there's stronger players on the list, and there's a lot of those. We have a lot of his type of player on the list as well now. So unless he can stand out with his contested play, he's going to. I think he's going to find it a bit of a challenge to be playing in our first 22. But saying that. Someone made reference to Heath and Stevenson are redundant now, but they're still the quality depth players that we need. There's no point having 22 and then nothing underneath. So, there's still a spot there for him, and if he can just improve his game a little bit, you never know, it could be a first 22 spot.
I still think Campbell Heath's got a big future, and I think Lewis Stevenson is probably a little bit up against it to stay on the list beyond next season, just because. At that point, he's going to be sort of 25, moving on to 26. And if he doesn't really knuckle down a spot in the side, then I see his spot on the list under question, to be honest. He's one of those sort of almost there players in that he's got a fantastic kick, but he often misses the target. We play him in defence, but he's not good defensively. He's another I'd like to possibly see on a wing just to see if he can use his long kick to advantage into the forward line. Yeah, I like him as a player. He just needs to improve it probably another 10 to 15% just to really, have a big crack at 2014, I think. And that's it for this evening. Thanks for listening, everybody. Remember to subscribe on iTunes again. If you want to give us a 5-star rating, that would be fantastic as well. That would really help out the show. Rick, do you have any more fishing tips, mate?
I do. Even though it's the cooler weather has sort of impacted a little bit, but don't forget the value of the yellowfin whiting. I think it's right up there with the quality of the King George whiting, and everyone can have a punt at the yellowfin whiting from Brighton all the way up the Gulf and then back down the other side, and even your way, Macca, is supposed to be pretty good for the yellowfin as well. And don't forget just to have a running sinker with a trace underneath and use your tube worms, or if you can pump the live clickers, you'll be laughing, and you should be able to get it, and they're beautiful to eat.
They certainly are, mate. I have yellowfin whiting just about every week, I think.
Oh, I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous. I can't wait to head over to Ardrossan this weekend, and I'm going to have a shot if I don't get the boat out.
Beautiful. Donnie, always a pleasure to have you on, mate.
Thanks, guys. Just I'd let you know it's 143 days until we play Carlton, but who's counting, eh?
Great stuff.
Could I just say, thank God we can close this Polec thread off.
I, as I said before the show started, I was ready to come on here at 3 o'clock this afternoon. I was thinking, I'm just going to blast everyone. This is ridiculous. What is the hold up? I'm so happy it's over and done with now. We've got him. We can move on.
Absolutely.
Go the power.
See you, boys.
See you, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Can you hear my chair squeaking?
Oh, yeah.
I imagine you rolling back with a big cigar, Rick, just looking outside.
Bit of cognac or something.
Oh, yeah. Nice red wine. I can't have a cigar. I used to smoke. I'd love to be able to have a cigar, but I don't touch them anymore. Otherwise, if I have one, I'll start again. So, but the wine or not cognac, whiskey might be all right. Straight Johnny Blue or something. What do you reckon?
Oh, no, not bad.
Not bad. I wish I could afford it.
Bit of Glenfiddich or something, that'd be good.
Oh, yeah, actually, I'm a big fan
Glenlivet?
of Glenfiddich. Yeah, I haven't had much of that one.